Greetings family, welcome back to the channel, and before we dive into this jaw-dropping breaking story, make sure you hit that subscribe button, like, and share this video so more people can join in on this explosive discussion. What has just come out is nothing short of shocking, a twist in Zimbabwean politics that nobody saw coming. Reports are circulating that Nelson Chamisa, the opposition leader who once carried the hopes of millions, has stepped away from politics to pursue training with the CIA. Yes, you heard that right, and the reactions from every corner of the political landscape are as dramatic as you'd expect. At the very center of it all stands President Emmerson Mnangagwa, jubilant, almost celebrating this political earthquake, as if the universe has finally handed him the victory he has long been craving on a silver platter. The news broke like wildfire, sending shockwaves across Zimbabwe and beyond. For years, Chamisa has been the face of resistance, the figure who carried the torch against ZANU-PF's decades-long grip on power. His rallies were magnetic, his charisma undeniable, and his message one that resonated with the downtrodden masses desperate for change. But now, to hear that the man who once declared he was ready to lead has abandoned the trenches of political struggle for intelligence training abroad feels like a betrayal to some and a relief to others. Mnangagwa, for one, could not contain his satisfaction. Sources close to State House describe him as beaming, confident that Chamisa's departure marks the final nail in the coffin for Zimbabwe's fractured opposition. Crowds across Harare buzzed with disbelief, some refusing to accept it as truth, while others took to the streets mocking Chamisa's exit. Memes flooded social media with jokes about Chamisa running to America and leaving Zimbabweans to fight their own battles. But behind the laughter lies a dark undertone of despair. For many who pin their hopes on him, this move feels like abandonment at a time when the fight for democracy is more urgent than ever. People are asking how a man who branded himself as a servant of the people could walk away from the battlefield just as Mnangagwa tightens his grip. Mnangagwa's loyalists wasted no time turning this into propaganda gold. Ministers aligned with him are already spinning the narrative that Chamisa's decision proves he was always a foreign puppet, an agent of Western powers whose loyalty was never to Zimbabwe. State media is portraying his CIA link as proof that the opposition was never organic but rather a project designed in foreign capitals. The jubilant mood within ZANU-PF is almost celebratory, with insiders boasting that the opposition is now dead and buried and that no one else has the charisma or grassroots following to fill Chamisa's shoes. But the story is far from one-sided. Those close to Chamisa argue that his decision is not cowardice but strategy, that he has chosen a different battlefield to sharpen his tools before returning with greater force. They suggest that the CIA training is about gaining knowledge in intelligence, strategy, and global networks that could one day position him to challenge Mnangagwa more effectively. His allies whisper that this is not the end but a transformation, a pause before a storm. Yet, even this explanation has not managed to calm the growing frustration among his followers who feel betrayed. For them, the timing could not be worse. With inflation rising, unemployment suffocating the youth, and repression growing harsher, they needed a leader in the trenches, not on a plane. Meanwhile, Mnangagwa is seizing the moment to fortify his power. At rallies, he smirks as he tells crowds that Zimbabwe is free from traitors and that the nation must rally behind his leadership. His allies are already floating the idea that 2028 will be an uncontested election, mocking opposition supporters who once chanted Chamisa's name. The state-controlled airwaves are amplifying this narrative, broadcasting every detail of Chamisa's exit as evidence of ZANU-PF's invincibility. In political chess, Mnangagwa seems to believe he has just captured the queen. But beneath Mnangagwa's jubilation lies a dangerous complacency. The truth is that power vacuums in politics rarely stay empty for long. Chamisa's departure may have weakened the opposition in the short term, but it has also opened space for new leaders to rise. Already, whispers are emerging of young activists ready to step into the gap, unburdened by old scars and eager to mobilize the restless youth who make up the majority of the population. If Mnangagwa thinks Chamisa's exit guarantees him smooth sailing, he may be gravely mistaken. Politics is unpredictable, and sometimes, the absence of one figure sparks the rise of many others. Internationally, this twist has raised eyebrows. Western diplomats are watching carefully, unsure what Chamisa's CIA connection means for future relations. Some fear it gives ZANU-PF even more ammunition to push the anti-imperialist rhetoric that has long shielded them from accountability. Others believe it could mark the beginning of a new geopolitical game, where Zimbabwe's opposition is no longer just a local movement but part of a bigger global chessboard. For ordinary Zimbabweans, however, these international games feel distant. What they see is a government growing bolder and an opposition that feels leaderless. On the ground, people's frustrations are boiling over. Vendors in Mbeya shake their heads in disbelief, saying leaders always abandon them when things get tough. Youth in Bulawayo speak bitterly of dreams crushed and promises broken. Yet there are also voices calling for calm, urging people not to place all their hopes in one man, but to see the struggle for democracy as bigger than Chamisa, bigger than any single politician. Perhaps this moment, as painful as it feels, is also a wake-up call for citizens to organize themselves rather than waiting for a savior. As the dust settles, one thing is clear: Zimbabwean politics has entered a new chapter. Chamisa's departure may be temporary or permanent, strategic or cowardly, but its impact is undeniable. Mnangagwa is jubilant, feeling that victory is finally his. The opposition is in turmoil, unsure of its next move. The people are divided between despair and determination. And somewhere in the shadows, new leaders are watching, waiting, and preparing for their chance to rise. Family, what do you think of this shocking development? Has Chamisa betrayed the people by walking away, or is this part of a bigger strategy that will one day surprise everyone? Do you think Mnangagwa is right to celebrate, or is he celebrating too early? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, share this video widely, and don't forget to subscribe for more updates as we continue to follow the twists and turns shaking Zimbabwean politics.